Marge's Garage, and this is going to be a pretty short video, especially in comparison to the original video on this lift purchase that I made a little bit more than a year ago. So it's a look at it a year later, using it every day, except for the days that maybe I take off. Get a little bit closer look at it. There's a little bit of wear on it in my favorite spot, right? I'm usually over on the other side working, just closer to everything, and so there's a bit of wear. So this is a motorcycle lift, right? They call it an ATV lawnmower lift because they add on these side extensions. They're symmetrical, and you can just pull the pipes off. We'll take a closer look at that in a little bit. And you can essentially put these side extensions on. It really doesn't matter. It's not A or B. It's either side. So I might actually move this one over there and vice versa and kind of balance the wear a little bit. But other than that, it has really held up good. So let's get in and do a little closer look. The next thing I want to do, I just wiped it off, so what you see here in this intro is pretty much how I keep it from day to day, week to week. If it gets really dirty, I do a little bit more cleaning, so let's just go do that. I'm going to show you what I clean it with and how I maintain it, at least to some degree, so that it stays in as good a shape as one can accept in a shop. All right, so see you guys in a bit. Alright, so since it needs to be cleaned anyway, and I just wiped it off, I'm just going to do this real quick. But I want to mention, there's two ways I clean it, because it is greasy and dirty, and I get paint on it, I get overspray on it, all different types. This is a working shop every day. So sometimes I'll clean it with a bit of gas or a petroleum substance. Once in a while I'll use, like with lawnmowers and machines, I get a lot of kind of like beet gas, and I'll put a little oil in it, and I'll spray it on and I'll wipe it down. This is a cleaner. It's got a bit of super clean in it. It also has, it used to have a bit of industrial strength vinegar in it, but one of the things it has is it has a little bit of .5 brake fluid in it. Now if it gets really bad, like I get a lot of overspray, I'll use a thinner or mineral spirits, or like I said, old gas, maybe even a little bit of oil in it, because sometimes it gets really bad. I get a lot of junk on it. It still does. It has a bit of overspray on it, but I'm not really looking to make it mint right now. But every now and then I actually clean it really, really well. I'll sort of strip it down. You can see it's a work table. So let me just wipe this in. So this is .5 in here. That's silicone, pure silicone in a liquid, brake fluid. And it's, if you ever want to coat anything with silicone, fellas, that's why I wanted to mention this, really coat like tires and stuff, go get .5. That's about how much I add, and the rest is some kind of a cleaning solution. So now I'm going to go just hit it again. All right, doesn't look too bad. The second round, right, rag is still pretty gross, but it doesn't look too bad. So the point for I'm showing is a couple of things. One is that little tip with using silicone for tires and all kinds of different things that you like to clean up. But it needs to be cleaned periodically because, again, I get overspray, paint overspray on it, and a lot of filth goes on it. And so that can damage the finish. You get too much overspray and you can see there's areas that still have paint stuck to it. By putting the silicone down on it, it kind of creates a barrier for a period of time, and a lot of this stuff doesn't stick. They do put cardboard down occasionally, or a piece of wood. I've been doing that a little bit more. And this Super Clean makes a lot of nice different products. The foamy, they even have an acid out for cleaning. It's a type of an acid. It's a rim cleaner, wheel and rim cleaner. So I'll use that. So I have a little bit of Super Clean in that product that I was just using that I just made up. But you got to clean it every now and then. And again, the point I'm making is that this thing's getting some wear after a year. I took the vise off. I'm not using the vise over here. That's the wheel vise and what have you. I don't generally use it. I don't do a lot of motorcycle or anything, but I have it. I have it put aside. And I like the ends clear, right? The two ends clear. This way I can pull a tractor all the way to the end, or any one of my other machines, and I can work from the ends. Essentially, I have it set up so I can work from all four corners, really. I try not to drag metal objects over it. It is a powder coat, so this is a polyester, And like you can see, if you beat it up enough, right, it's going to peel off. And we're down to whatever primer. Apparently there is a primer in some areas on this. It's what it looks like, or some kind of subcoat that's gray. That's not me. The red is me. The gray is whatever's underneath this black top coating. And it has a bit of a diamond surface on it. I'm not sure if I like that. It kind of helps with it being too slick. But I also weld on this thing too. I'll weld on top of this. This is my universal table. Okay, now the first episode is long because I actually got the thing delivered and I go through, you know, I didn't go through the unboxing. This is usually boring. But I went through all of the setup on it and my introduction, right? That was my introduction to this machine, and it's certainly your introduction. Now, what would I say overall? Well, I really love the thing. It's the price was good. They had another one that could handle 1,500 pounds as air over hydraulic. I should have waited for it, especially now, right? Because the price of everything is ridiculous, and it's just going to keep going up. So the price for this at the time was very good. I guess somewhere around about $1,000, right? So, and it came with the wheel dolly. So if you know, check out that video and thumb through it to see, you know, a little bit more about what the table looked like when it was brand new. Its construction is very good. You could probably turn this into about a 1,200 pound table or 1,300, you know, just for a guess, with a little bit of welding and a little bit of steel, and I may do that in the future. I also want to, again, I want to show you some of the machines I put on here, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But there's this piece, and I'm not sure if I think I did put it in the old video, the original video. This is a way of sort of jacking the table up a little bit higher than what the locks allow, and I can keep it at the maximum height, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I slide this in, I put the lock down, I slide this in. It allows me to get, so when I relieve the pressure in the air bottle, the table will come down and it'll hit here. This is set up with a piece of pipe here and a piece of hanger line. It's all welded, and it cannot kick out, right? And believe it or not, this brings it up like another inch and change, and then this slides in underneath, gets wedged in there, and it actually brings it up to the full height that you see now. Because I'm about 5'10", 5'10 and a half, and I like to do a lot of things at this height, but my workbenches are a little bit taller, and I also made a lift table, like a hand crank lift table, and that video does pretty good. You might want to check that out. I'll put that in the description. And I can get those things up to like 36 inches. So that's the bench height that I like. But nice thing about this is you could put another piece of wood down or something else to prop up your work a little bit higher. But I was really just kind of just seeing if I could get a little bit more height out of it. And then, of course, when I'm working on bigger machines like tractors, you're going to be lowering it down anyway. And then the existing lock system that's on here works pretty good. And so we'll get a look at that. All right. So we drop down the lock, and you can see all of this space here. Right? So if it were to come down, it would come down a lot. Now, I go over this, I think, in the original video. So I just kind of slip this in there. And you can see when and now it'll come down a little bit. Or I can add a little bit more. Right? And it can't go anywhere. There's no way for this to twist out. And that keeps it pretty much within this height. It'll drop just a little bit until it loads. And then when I blow it back up again, right, it comes all right out. So I just wanted to show you that. I haven't had to lubricate anything so far yet this year. There are lube joints on everything. I think I might do that. There's one here, and I think there's one back here. These are sealed bearings, so you're okay there. The wheels could use a little oil. There's just a couple of spots. They put like a permanent lube on these surfaces. This is a high pressure lube, very sticky. You'll find it on, truckers use it. You know, in different areas on all the friction surfaces. You can get that product where you can just put a really thick, heavy grease would be fine, but it's still fine. I don't wipe it when I wipe with rags. I don't wipe this other than very lightly if there's just dirt on it or gas spills on it. But it hasn't given me a problem. It's very good grease. Everything is good. The only thing is this lock here. sometimes they're down a little bit lower and they have a little different configuration. If you wanted to increase the carrying capacity, some of them have an extra plate down here. I see that this frame is designed for probably for the air over hydraulic. You could add some ribbing on this side, right, if you wanted to, all the way up. And the same thing here, you could take ribbing from there to there, angle line or something, or just straight steel and weld it on, and that would really increase the carrying capacity if you wanted to. But then you'd be burning through. You'd have to grind away all this nice coating. So you may not want to do that. Yeah, but other than that, I'm very happy with that part. There are better tables out there, better meaning more expensive as well. And there are some different designs that you may want to look into. But this one is easily moved, right? So I can pull it a little bit. It slides. Now, the kind of floor that I'm on makes it a little bit easier, but it's very easy for me to move around. I have some issues with my back, so I wanted something that went up and down easy, that I could kind of adjust underneath this light and lighting it here. And I can get to all the different sides, and of course, check out my my YouTube channel. I need to be able to get the camera with the stand in this environment here and move around a little bit so I can get the shots I'm looking for. So I think that covers it. I want to go now to the next segment. We'll talk a little bit about what I put on here, and just to start off with, the heaviest thing that's been on here is a little over 1,000 pounds, and it's my Simplicity Sunstar tractor. And the biggest complaint I have with this table is at that weight with the tires on the perimeter, what'll start to happen is these outriggers will bow, okay? And they're bowing for a couple of reasons. They're bowing because there's only two cross supports, one on each end. There's nothing in the middle. And I don't even know if there's really a way to actually properly put one of these in the middle. So if that's a concern to you, you might want to think about that. Look for a table that has maybe one more in the middle. One of the solutions I thought is to try to, and the best way I can is to symmetrically drill 2 holes on each, all right, at least 2 holes on each, and maybe put like a 3/8 bolt in there. You don't need a lot, but just a little bit of something extra to sort of pull in the leaves and make them a little bit tighter. Because I don't use it as a motorcycle table. It's nice as I can do that if I need to, but most of my stuff I'm using the table as you see it. And I think that would give it a little bit more support. And the other thing too is the bend on the outside. It is a double bend. It's a U bend on the outside and the inside. It's symmetrical on these leaves. That's quite strong, but the dimension of it, if you look at some of the other tables, it has a much longer or taller end piece or end cap bend that gives those a lot more strength. You could add a piece of steel on there if you wanted to increase the strength, but you would still need to probably pin it in the center just to distribute the forces a little bit more. Now these here, they had to be deburred, and you can see they really gouged the floor, and that was just from some burrs. So I, at some point I got lazy, and things were moving around, and I was moving stuff, and I had to get in there and deburr that. So that was one thing. If generally if you're on concrete, it's not a problem, but it was for me. Now I don't think there was any damage from shipping, but I will comment on these. I did have to kind of bend one a little bit. This may have been damaged from shipping, and these little fingers that go in. So what I usually do is I lower it down a little bit. It's actually up all the way, but I'll lower it down a little bit. And then the best way to remove it for me is to take it from the left, okay, and lift it up, and then to put it in from the right, and then to align everything and let it down. And so what I do is I drill these open a little bit. Probably, I think I bent this one over a little bit. I think it got a little skewed. But by doing it like this, it's not a problem. So that's how I do it, and I lift it up a little bit so I have a bad back. So the whole point of a lot of this is to avoid this bending of heavy things and straining. So just a simple lock. I kind of lay it on my knees, and then I just lift up, and now I can control it and put it wherever I want. So this may have been a little bit damaged. I'm not going to complain about it. I think overall I didn't see any big dents or anything from shipping. It was packaged pretty well considering what it is. Be prepared though, when you receive a machine like this, you have to be able to move it, and I had to drag it several hundred feet all the way around to the back with my truck because I had no way of actually lifting it in situ, right? At the time particularly. Now I have my tractor and the forks can kind of lift it a little bit, but at the time I didn't have that, and it's all dirt. Now, of course, this has nothing to do with the design or anything itself. It's just a little side note. This nice little ramp that when I'm not using it or when I need it, I laid it into here. I always wanted a ramp in this section. And so now I can put the ramp down and it just kind of goes into these holes here, which I set up on that ledger board. And now I have a nice ramp to make the transition, just the way the shop is made. When I redid the shop, I did have the possibility of putting all concrete down. But if you're working in a shop all the time, I just went like really big with all the floor joists because it gives a little bit. And with the wood floor, it's warmer, it's insulated, it's easier on your feet. But it created the step because this building came first, which was an old barn. And then this building actually came from Fort Upton, which is now Brookhaven National Labs, back during the war. Lumber being difficult to get, resources being difficult to get. They just decided to move the whole building and they attached it to that building. So that's what created, I don't know if you can see anything, I don't have the lights on, but that made it easier. Anyway, let's get back to the review. Now this is the floor mount type valve, and it works okay. It's hard to find the neutral point, and so it'll leak down if you don't get it quite right. Turn the air compressor off at night, even if I close valves, because she's getting old and this system leaks a little bit, my system. And yeah, the lift will come down. It just does. I know some people mount, there's the cylinder. Some people will mount this to the side. I know Musty does, right? He mounted one of his, he's got a few of them, but he's got, not the Black Widow, he's got a different brand. I'll probably put a different valving system in it later on. The other thing I had to do is I had to wire up, this is on a swivel, so I had to wire it up just with some baling wire because it would, if it fell down at the wrong time, right, if you weren't controlling the hose, the whole lift would come down on the hose and kink it and bend it, and then you would not be able to get it back up again, and it would damage the hose. So that was just a simple solution. But I think at some point I'll probably bring it up, mount it somewhere on the table itself. So the last few comments I'll make, and then I'll let you guys get out of here if you haven't already. So this is an air table, right? And it's a pneumatic table. It's got a big air cylinder in there, and there is a drawback to that. It will leak down. It will be somewhat, you'll sort of this staccato effect when you're lowering something or raising something. It may overshoot if you want a particular height. They always recommend, and this is probably true with any table, you lift the table up a little bit higher than what you want it. You drop the lock down, and then you lower the table down, and you're resting it on the locks, but not on whether it's hydraulic or air assist or air bottle, right? You don't really want to lay it on that because it could be a failure in that way, and then everything comes down. Now, if it did come down, it's above your foot line, so it's not going to crush your feet, things like that. But you still want that to happen. You get hurt or you can damage something. Now, for me, a lot of my stuff is lawn mowers and everything, and the tractors and big, heavy, a lot of times big, heavy machines, whether they're generators, whatever. Some of these things are quite heavy. The 1,000-pound lift rating on this, I wish it was 1,500. I should have waited for the bigger one. I would recommend that you go for the bigger one if you feel that you're going to be lifting heavier things. My tractor, the big tractor, the tractor by itself is about 1,000. It's about 1,100 pounds with a cutting deck on it. It's a big cutting deck. And of course I have the plow, I have a snow thrower, and then if you have other implements, it would be too much for it. And so that's where, and like I said, it was bending in here. Now we can beef things up. Air over hydraulic is a little bit better because air is compressible. So this bottle, trying to lift up a big tractor like that, it's a little scary. It doesn't happen right away. And then all of a sudden it happens. It starts to lift. So you want to consider that. What is your weight class, right? Where do you want to be? For the price I got this thing, we'll talk about that in a minute one more time, but you can't beat it. I'm just trying to think of, hydraulic is a little bit better in the sense of that it's an air pump or your air compressor that is just like a floor jack. It's doing the pumping. But hydraulic fluids are not compressible. And so that cylinder in the hydraulic section is doing the lifting, and it's going to be a smoother operation, more of an affirmative, positive lifting scenario, and that experience is going to be a little bit different. Whereas, like I said, this compresses, it's going to get weird, but it does the job. Could you convert this to a hydraulic bottle? Sure. There are some of the tables out there that are electric. You might want to look at one of those. And lastly, when we're talking about value, I don't know what to say, guys. With inflation, I just looked up the price. This is, and I'll put it up here somewhere. It's now over $2,000, a little over $2,000. This was around $1,100, maybe $1,200 shipped to your door. God knows, well, I don't know with the shipping and everything now. The thing is with inflation, it's not just that the devaluation of the dollar; it's the devaluation of the dollar and everything else being overvalued, so to speak, or having to compensate for that by having the prices raised up so much. So something like this for around $2,000 now, what will it be next year? $3,000, right? So if you're seeing this, guys, and you're thinking about buying one, my recommendation from a financial aspect would be to buy with cash. Don't put it on credit because you're going to have the devaluation of the dollar, the devaluation in a sense of the machine itself, the steel, the products. All of those prices are going to go up, and on top of that, you're paying an interest charge. But I would recommend that you buy whatever you can afford with cash. I could sell this and get a pretty good value back on it and buy something bigger later on. I don't think I was hoping maybe afford to buy a second one for the other room. That's not going to happen, right? Not with everything going up. I don't see that for a very long time, if at all, right? So it could be a one-time purchase. You want to think long and hard about it. Overall, I bought it for cash, no interest payments, nothing like that. And for me, right, when I bought it, knowing that a lot of this stuff was going to happen, I was like, I got to get something. It's a back saver. It's a knee saver. It makes my job more fun. It makes my hobby, because I still do this stuff for a hobby as well. So it makes that more engaging, easier to deal with. I look forward to working on little motors. I can work it on that bench. I can work it on my other bench. I can still do stuff on the floor in the garage for the bigger tractors. I've got the overhead thing that I can pull up with a come along or whatever. The idea is to try to make your work flow a little bit easier and save on your body, especially as we get older, fellas. When you get older, the sins of your 20s are going to come back to you in your 40s. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you got something out of this, and thanks for stopping in Archer's Garage.